just get this out of the way so you guys can see the screen. So I'm Edwina Warby. I am based down in Holbrook, and with us today is also Meg Anderson. So she's based at Clark Creek, so Queensland and New South Wales. So as I mentioned before, we're really keen to run through as many real life use case scenarios as possible today with these new breeding insights. So there is a button at the bottom that says Q&A. So don't try and access the chat one as it's a webinar format, you won't be able to access that chat button. It needs to be the Q&A one. So just pop in there if you have any questions as we go, or if there's particular insights that you're wanting to get out of your breeding data, how may we be able to look at that on this dashboard? It's great to see that so many of you are already using Black Box for fertility insights, most likely probably our current breeding performance dashboard. So we'd like to go through the main difference between those two and also the reason why this breeding management report edition has come about. So as I mentioned, Q&A box is where you want to pop those questions and we will jump into it. So I'll hand over to Meg if you would like to introduce yourself, Meg, and then we'll just jump into.
Cool. Thank you, Edwina. So as Ed said, I am based at Clark Creek, which is 2 hours north of Rockhampton. And yes, I'm a client manager for Black Box. Loving it. Have been with the company since August last year. So yeah, great to be here and great to have all you join us today to talk about this exciting new dashboard. So basically what we will be, is that on the next slide, Wings?
Oh, sorry, I think we lost you, Meg, but we've got you now. It was
Sorry.
working.
Yeah, so today what we're going to be discussing is the new breeding management dashboard, as Edwina mentioned. Basically developed by producers for producers. So you guys spoke and we listened. So we're excited to run through that today. We'll also be showcasing a new view by import shortcut, which will be relevant to some of you, which will just streamline how you can access particular session files from the imports page. And then we're going to go through some use case scenarios as well. Again, pop them in the chat, sorry, the QA, please, if you have any specific to your operation at home that you would like us to run through as we go through the dashboard.
We just had an issue come through, Meg. One of our attendees has got no audio. Can we just confirm that people can hear us, and maybe try down the bottom left hand of your Zoom screen for those of you who can't hear us? You probably can't hear me. Maybe I'll type the answer. I'll just answer to him. But can we confirm that?
Okay.
Okay, cool, awesome. We're good to go. We've sorted. Great to have you, Cameron. Hopefully you can hear us now, but you didn't miss too much, just that Queensland are hopefully going to show up tonight.
Pretty well.
Cool. So we'll go on to the next slide, Matt.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So many of you, if you're familiar with Black Box, will be familiar with this dashboard. This is the breeding performance dashboard. It is what you guys have had access to currently to date. If you have a fertility dashboard on your account, it is what we have built off to create the breeding management dashboard, which Edwina will take you through shortly. But basically, it has been feedback from this dashboard that has allowed us to sort of create the new one. So hopefully it's exciting and we'll go through a bit of that. But basically, in summary, if you aren't familiar with Black Box fertility dashboard, this breeding performance, this guy here is basically where all preg test results live. So any animal that's had a preg test result, fertility data point, comes up on this dashboard here. So you can go back through time and have a look at trends and patterns. Some of the insights on it are quite relevant to the north in particular. So we can see in the bottom left corner, we have the calf to calf period. So if you're someone who has bulls in all year round or quite a long joining period, that is preg testing and fetal aging, that's quite a useful chart for narrowing down whether you're having females in calf every 12 months versus every 18 months, which can mean quite a difference in the number of calves you get on the ground over a 10-year period. So a fair few useful insights on this dashboard, and I guess to lead into the breeding management dashboard before I hand over to Edwina to take us through it. It's again feedback from this that has allowed the new one to be created. So they work really well together, and Edwina will go into a bit more depth as to the specific differences in the two. So yeah, keep putting questions through as you see fit. And yeah, I'll hand it over to you now, Edwina.
Thanks, Meg. So I just wanted to highlight the main differences for those of you who are already using our dashboards. Meg's already touched on a few of these things, but the main differences is that breeding management will also include some weight insights. So include your last weight of your breeding animals so that you can look at, say, empties or tying that back to AI results as well. Our current dashboard that you're used to seeing shows the first preg test result for those selected time periods, whereas our new one, like for your current active breeders, will show the most recent preg test result. It will also include joined to information, so the sires that you might have AI'd to, and then the joining type, so whether or not it was AI or natural based on your preg test results. The new one will only show your active breeders. So if an animal has had a carcass data point, a sale, a death, it will no longer show on that breeding management dashboard. It's designed to give you an idea of what's currently on farm that are my active breeding stock. Whereas that performance dashboard allows you to look back at that historical performance to look at, okay, well, what was my total preg test results for that time period? Because you might have sold your empties or your dries since then. And then the main thing at the bottom is just the date selection. So the breeding performance allows you to go back to different calendar, season, or financial years, or even viewing first round versus second round, whereas our current active breeding one allows you to look at by preg test date for only your active animals. So we might dive into some actual examples on this dashboard. So what I'll do is I'll just share our live dashboards. Are you able to see that there okay, Meg?
Yep, you've got it. Great.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, those of you who are familiar with this, it will be available to be a report turned on in your black box account. So breeding performance, as I mentioned, is the historical data. Breeding management is where you'll go to look at on-farm current breeding animals performance. So again, you can select by multiple properties or just one property at a time. I know we got a lot of feedback recently that wanting to view multiple properties at a time. So you can now do that by dropping the arrow down and choosing a particular property. Something to note is we do have chart manager and filter still to come. It's being developed for this dashboard, but it will be exactly how you use it with your other reports where you can filter by breed, size, class, and also turn particular charts on and off to make your view personalized for you and less overwhelming so you're not scrolling up and down. So what this dashboard will give you is total number of head as your active breeding stock, number of pregnancies and a percentage underneath, average ADG of the animals that do have more than one weight, and an average last weight. Similar to how you're used to using the other reports, so all interactive charts, you can select on ADG and how that might have affected your preg test results. Sire and dam information, so that's coming back in a few ways from your crush side machine or from DNA results. A lot of you would be familiar with that data already coming in and how it comes into black box. Breed insights, so again, breaking down maybe what your full bloods did or your Angus. Some of you may be looking at more northern breeds, so Brahman and composites or Brahman cross, things that you might be trying out, wanting to dive into their fertility insights. But this date of last preg test is really the main difference. So instead of looking at particular seasons or particular calendar years, you're able to just select on when their last preg test was. So maybe anything that you've tested since January this year, you can look at just that number of head. Something that's really interesting and has popped up a little bit recently as we've taken this to you as producers for feedback is how visual it is, just being able to select these ones that haven't had a preg test, end of 2024, start of 2025. So they also haven't had a carcass data point or a death data point or things like that. So they're still considered active breeding stock, but they haven't been recently seen for a preg test. So this can allow you to look at potentially like mismustering percentages or maybe what might be dead in the paddock. If you're not doing tag replacements, it's also a good reflection of maybe how many tags have been lost, things like that. Or maybe you're not preg testing all your animals. So you can just see what has been run through and tested for that time period. Meg, just feel free to pull me up at any stage if we do have questions, but otherwise, I'll just continue to run through this. A big thing with these charts, so I guess lately down in the south with a tougher season, people have been looking at these fertility insights to make culling decisions. So with from that preg test result and calving pattern, they might select, for example, just their heifers from 2023 heifers in this example. You can see that there's first cycle, second cycle. So I want to select just the animals that were in second cycle. So they're due to calve in the second 8 weeks of our calving period. So I can look at those animals and potentially say, okay, well, I want to cull on them. So you can use the little red button down in the bottom left to download those animals as a CSV. What that will give you is all of their EIDs, their VIDs, their other breed, date, weight information. So that just allows you to push that back to your crush side machine. So whether it might be Stockbook or True Test or Gallagher as a draft list. That's just an example of a second cycle situation that we had a client telling us that it was really easy to be able to do that. They actually went one step further and went to their breeding performance dashboard and looked back at historical fertility performance of particular older cows to decide which ones they wanted to sell in a tough situation. Wanted to make sure that they were using data to make those right decisions or make the best decision in that time. So another example might be selecting, say, just your dries and your empties and being able to export those animals. That's another situation where you might be wanting to cull off these insights after you've done your full round of preg testing. Another one is viewing, say, just your empty animals, what were their average weight? So some people might want to look at a particular sire that they've joined to and then looking at empties versus pregnants and what the difference was there in either ADG or weight. Another example that's been used recently with some of our clients letting us know who are doing AI, so they can select what was successfully joined to AI and looking at particular weight ranges for ages or ADG. Or if they want to look at a particular sire, okay, so 45% joined to that sire was successfully AI'd, whereas 55% were preg tested based on their fetal age to the mop-up bull or joined naturally. So we do have a few, obviously joined sires can be a particular sire. We do have some other clients using bull groups. So they're looking at different stud bull groups that they're joining together with mobs of cows. That's been super interesting for them to be able to look at joint percentages, like preg test percentages in general, but then particular joint sires within those sessions. So that's been really interesting. Another thing that I wanted to remind you of was the list builder function over here. So say, let's just look at those ones that we used before of that second cycle. You can look at that, look at those animals. I should have opened my list builder before. So let's just reselect them again. So 2023 heifers and second cycle, and we can add them to the list over here. It will then give you all of their visual tags and EIDs, and then you can view all of their historical information. So obviously these guys only have one result, but the same way, so I can clear that list by deleting over here. going to, let's just say, our dry empties, you might want to look at what their previous results have been. That one's only had one as well. I'm not going to find a good example here, but obviously if they'd had previous preg tests before, you can see all of their lifetime information together. So I'm just thinking what else we might be missing here, Meg. I think the biggest thing that's popped up for us is studs being able to tie those AI results back so visually to different like weight gain trends, preparing those animals better to get a more successful AI percentage. And then more so in the north, really just having an idea of what you have on farm. So apart from being able to look back at your whole fertility preg test results from the year, so breeding performance and looking at maybe what your total preg test percentage was. After you've done a cull, what have you got left on farm? When might they be due to calve based on your fetal age? Making decisions around that, as well as tying in that weight information, which you haven't been able to do up until now. So that's been a big thing. The rest really remains the same, where you can break it down by breed, you can break it down by age. You can compare property of origin. So if you are buying in breeding stock, so in the north, we've seen people buy in some different mobs of cows, so they might want to compare by that performance. I know with some clients getting into Wagyu, they're really keen to compare what females have performed really well from different mobs that they've bought them from. So that's all able to be done through this new breeding management dashboard. What I did want to jump to, and Meg, we don't have any questions that have come through yet.
Quiet question. Phone line's quiet. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in. There's no such thing as a silly question. I ask them all the time. So yeah, keep going, Weens. But yeah,
Cool.
no. Use the question chat, guys, if you have any at all.
Okay, I did want to show you through this because some of our clients forget about this feature, which is really, really handy, particularly if you're wanting to look at certain session performance or certain paddocks. So, for example, just with that breeding information, we can come into here. This is results for South Creek paddock, for example. You may want to do it by property or a particular mob, your ewe heifers, for example. So you can come in here and click view this data in a dashboard, and I want to view just these animals in breeding management. So it allows you to bring up just the results for that particular session of data that you've imported, which is really handy if you're wanting to compare different mob performance or different paddock performance. We had a client the other day that was viewing by paddock and going back and looking at last year's results versus this year results, and it was really interesting to compare some of those insights by paddock that way or by mob. With the other example that I wanted to show was preparing heifers coming into AI. So, for instance, we've just got a demo example of some weaner heifers here that we can view on what we call growing management. So their current females growing on property, we can view just those animals and look at their current weights, their ADGs, things like that. But what's really interesting is preparing them coming into an AI round, what weights are they going to be by those particular months? I know we've got some people that don't even bother AIing anything that's under 350 kilos, or they've found that they've had really good results over 400 kilos plus compared to within 350 to 400. So looking at those joint heifers, what you've got, you can predict what they might do throughout, spring. They can gain, up to 0.6 a day daily gain, or maybe they're in a tougher season, so they're not actually doing that well. What are we going to have come? I'm just going to use December as an example. So here I could then select anything that might be less than 350 kilos coming into our first AI round. So selecting those, say 50 head, do I want to pull them out now? Do I want to supplement? Things like that, or just knowing what sort of animals you're going to have in particular weight ranges. We've seen clients pick up really interesting trends around those that are really pumping along. High ADG have not had a very successful AI result compared to those that have just been on a steady rising plane of nutrition, have had a lot better results. So I'll leave that to the experts, but I guess this is really allowing you to dive into those particular performance results and identify if there is any trends or correlations that you might be able to help with management decisions.
I just had a question come through, Edwina, about the dashboard. Will the whole herd paddock dashboard update each time a session is synchronized?
Will the whole herd / paddock dashboard update? Yes. So I think what that means is this breeding management dashboard will obviously grow as more animals are added to it. Once we get this filter button working, you will be able to select by paddock then. So as soon as I'm guessing in this example, you might have a Gallagher TWR API session. So it's actually got a direct link to Blackbox through Gallagher. So as soon as you sync your Gallagher to the cloud, that information will come up into Blackbox and you'll be able to view on this dashboard. Again, you would be able to go into that particular import and just view that new paddock's worth of information. Otherwise, this breeding management dashboard is going to be your whole results together. My example wasn't great because I had a whole lot of breeders under that one paddock. But yes, your breeding management dashboard will accrue as you add more animals data. It will obviously only show their recent preg tests. So on this breeding management dashboard, if you choose a particular animal that might have had the last 4 years of preg tests, it will only show her most recent result. Whereas on that performance dashboard, you can go back and look at historical performance and, wet rebreeds and things like that, body condition scores, all of that past information. So I hope that answers your question there.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. Awesome. So I'll just share back to the presentation, Meg. Got the wrong screen, sorry. Here.
Thank you. Great demonstration, Edwina, and it's very exciting to have that new dashboard now, and I'm excited to hear ongoing feedback from people who are using it. I just wanted to touch on our ReproBI genomic prediction tool briefly, because I know some of you will be using this who are on today. So I just wanted to touch on how it could be used in conjunction with this physical data that you're collecting. So basically, if you're not familiar with ReproBI, it is a genomic prediction tool. So it is multi-breed as well. So it allows you to take a DNA sample at any age from any breed and compare them against a reference herd. So in short, for you guys who are using it currently, the reason you're doing it basically is to accelerate your genetic gain, like any genomic testing. It's to try and you can take a DNA sample like branding or weaning and try and speed up the rate at which you can. It's a prediction against performance, the likely performance of the progeny of those animals going down the track. So a great tool to facilitate the data many of you are already collecting, and I suppose being able to use the genomic test to speed up that game, but then use your physical data, so your preg testing, your cow weights, all that, to actually track that over time, historical and going forward, to actually see how fast you're improving or to just monitor progress. So knowing where you stand and making sure you're going in the right direction, I guess, is the best way genomics can facilitate the physical data you're collecting. As we all know, genetic gain is slow, but it's being able to analyze all of those insights over time to just make sure we're going in a good direction, we're not going backwards, to sort of baseline where you are and have a goal as to where you want to go when you're moving forward. And if there's anyone here who hadn't heard about ReproBI, you're more than welcome to call up and have a chat, but it is one of our tools that we offer as well to many clients. And I know some of you guys will be using Blackbox and ReproBI. So I thought I would throw this in to explain how they sort of can relate with each other. Might
Perfect.
flip to the next slide. Also wanted to remind you guys that we do have custom reporting available. So if you're using our dashboards, if there are metrics, specific metrics on there that you want to be able to pull out or break down further, whatever your goals are within your own business or your own enterprise, it's just a conversation to have with us. Examples of some reports that we're currently doing are SIRE reporting for selected traits, like your marble score. Sale yard summaries, so traders comparing where they're buying cattle from. So if it is another option that can easily be forgotten about, but we have the dashboards, but then we can break it down even further if you have specific goals that you or a way you want to visualize your data that might be different. Custom reporting is definitely available. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind as well.
Cool. And do you want to wrap us up, Meg?
I couldn't not put this slide in as it's highly relevant today. But basically, Edwina and I wanted to thank you all for joining. We hope you had a great time. For current clients already using Black Box Fertility, the breeding management dashboard is available to be turned on. So please reach out so that we can make sure that your data is coming in properly. And for anyone new whose interests might have been piqued throughout this, reach out as well, because we can give free demos relevant to your operation. For 5 minutes, for 15 minutes, just reach out, because I know it can be a bit at first, but if you wanted to follow up with us, contact Edwina or myself. And to tie it back to origin, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So they don't just pick the origin team at random. We know this. They look at their performance past and to see, despite our last result for Queensland, if there's anything we can do, it's make a comeback. So yeah, I guess to tie it back into data, it's important to know how you're performing and that to ensure you're going to go in the right direction. So hopefully we get a win tonight, but I'm going to share the results to see what everyone else thinks while we've got them. They should pop up. Did that work?
Oh, the results.
Yeah, did they come up?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Queensland winning tonight, apparently, according to everyone who has signed on. So that's good to hear. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Take a photo of our contact details or reach out. Yeah, we're excited to have been able to showcase the new dashboard, and we value continued feedback as well. So please don't be shy.
Cool.
If there's
Thanks,
any
Meg.
other questions, let us know. Pop them in quickly before we close.
Perfect.